Have you ever pondered the divinity of Jesus? It's a question that has been the subject of countless debates, conversations, and contemplations throughout history. It's a compelling topic, one shrouded in mystery, faith, and interpretation. Many of us might have wrestled with this question, trying to reconcile our understanding with the words written in the sacred pages of the Bible. Today, we delve into the Bible to find the answer. In the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1, the Bible states, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Let's delve into this intriguing passage. At first glance, it might seem a bit cryptic. Who or what is the Word? Why is it being equated with God? But as we examine further, the mystery begins to unravel. The concept of the Word is a theme that runs throughout the Gospel of John. And in John 1:14, it becomes clear who the Word is. The verse says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us." This Word that was with God and was God from the very beginning became human. It's a profound and powerful proclamation of the nature of Jesus Christ. You see, the Word is none other than Jesus himself. So when John states, "In the beginning was the Word," he is affirming that Jesus was present from the start. He was there before the creation of the world, before time as we know it began. And not only was Jesus present, but he was also with God, sharing in the divine nature. But John goes even further, saying, "And the Word was God." This is a clear and unambiguous declaration of Jesus' divinity. Jesus is not merely a prophet or a messenger. He is not simply a man who is especially close to God. No, Jesus is God. He shares in the fullness of God's nature and being. By identifying Jesus as the Word, John is telling us something profound about the nature of God and the nature of Jesus. He's telling us that Jesus is the divine expression of God, the way God communicates and reveals himself to us. Through Jesus, the invisible God becomes visible, the distant becomes near, the unknowable becomes known. So when we read, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," we see a powerful declaration of Jesus' eternal divine nature, his intimate relationship with God, and his unique role in revealing God to the world. Thus, through John's Gospel, we see Jesus identified as God. In John 8:58, Jesus declares, "Before Abraham was born, I am." This statement, spoken by Jesus himself, forms a critical aspect of the understanding of his divine nature within Christian theology. Let's take a moment to delve into the profound meaning behind these 5 simple words. You see, Jesus' use of "I am" is not merely a grammatical construct. It is a direct and purposeful connection to God's self-identification to Moses. In the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 14, in this Old Testament verse, when Moses inquires about God's name, God responds by saying, "I am who I am." This phrase, "I am," is thus seen as God's own self-definition, a declaration of his eternal, self-existing nature. Now, when Jesus uses the same phrase, "I am," before the Pharisees, he is effectively making a bold and unequivocal claim about his divine identity. He is not just another prophet or wise teacher. He is aligning himself with the eternal, self-existent God of the Old Testament. This is not a claim to be taken lightly. In fact, it was a declaration so extraordinary, so unexpected, that it provoked immediate outrage among the Pharisees. They understood the gravity of Jesus' words, the audacity of his claim. Jesus was not merely saying he existed before Abraham. He was claiming to be God. The implications of this statement are profound. Jesus' use of "I am" is a direct affirmation of his divinity, a testament to his eternal existence, and a clear signal of his unique relationship with God the Father. And so when we examine John 8:58 in the context of the wider biblical narrative, we see a profound truth unfolding. Jesus, the humble carpenter from Nazareth, is not just a man. He is the eternal, self-existent God. He is the "I am" of Exodus, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus, by using "I am," aligns himself with God, showcasing his divine nature. This is a truth that invites us to reconsider our understanding of Jesus, inviting us to see him not just as a man, but as the living, eternal God. In John 20:28, Thomas exclaims to Jesus, "My Lord and my God." This exclamation from Thomas, one of the 12 disciples, is more than just a cry of surprise or a casual statement. It is a profound affirmation of faith, a recognition of Jesus' divine nature. Thomas, who was once known for his doubts, is now declaring with certainty that Jesus is not just his Lord, but also his God. Let's delve deeper into this moment. Picture this. Thomas, having been absent when Jesus first appeared to the disciples after his resurrection, was initially hesitant to believe. He wanted tangible proof. He wanted to see the marks of the nails in Jesus' hands, to thrust his hand into Jesus' side. And when provided with this proof, Thomas's doubts dissolved into faith. He saw, he touched, and he believed. Thomas's exclamation is significant in two ways. Firstly, it signifies his personal acceptance of Jesus' divinity. He is saying, "You are my Lord, you are my God." It's a statement of personal faith, a confession that Jesus is his Lord and his God. Secondly, it's important to note that Jesus doesn't rebuke Thomas for this statement. He doesn't say, "No, Thomas, you're mistaken." Instead, he accepts this recognition, further cementing his divine status. Jesus' acceptance of the title is as much a declaration of his divinity as Thomas's exclamation. Now, some might argue that Thomas was merely expressing surprise and wasn't actually calling Jesus God. But if that were the case, wouldn't Jesus, being the epitome of truth, have corrected him? The fact that Jesus doesn't correct Thomas's declaration shows that he accepts it, and by doing so, he confirms his own divinity. This scene, this moment of recognition, is a powerful testament to who Jesus is. It's a clear and unambiguous declaration of Jesus' divine nature. Thomas, one of his closest followers, acknowledges Jesus as God, and Jesus accepts this recognition. Scene script. Paul writes in Colossians 1:16, "For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible." Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to ponder on the profound implications of this verse. It's rather striking, isn't it? This passage, penned by Paul, explicitly attributes the responsibility of creation to Jesus. It is not an arbitrary mention of creation, but rather it encompasses everything, from the tangible to the intangible, from the celestial to the terrestrial. This is not a role that is bestowed upon just any figure in the scriptures, but rather it is reserved for God, the ultimate creator. By attributing this grand role to Jesus, Paul is reinforcing the divine status of Jesus. He is not merely drawing a parallel between Jesus and God, but rather he is asserting that Jesus and God are one and the same. Think about it. Creation is no small feat. It is the genesis of all things, the starting point of existence. It's the formulation of the universe as we know it. This isn't just about making something out of nothing. It's about establishing order, setting the laws of physics, and inventing life itself. This is a role that is inherently divine, inherently reserved for an entity of unfathomable power and wisdom. And here we have Paul attributing this monumental task to Jesus. What could be more divine than being the architect of existence? This verse from Colossians is a powerful testament to Jesus' divinity. It isn't a mere insinuation, it's a clear, unequivocal statement of Jesus' divine status. Through this verse, Paul is not just giving us a glimpse of Jesus' divinity, he's showing us the full picture. He's telling us that Jesus is not just a prophet or a teacher or a healer, he is the creator, the originator, the divine entity that set the wheels of existence in motion. Through Paul's words, we understand that Jesus, like God, is the creator of all. In examining these passages, we see a consistent theme. Having journeyed through the scriptures, we've encountered passages that speak volumes about Jesus' divinity. Each verse, each word, each parable provides a piece to the puzzle, and when these pieces come together, they paint a compelling picture of Jesus as God. From the beginning in the book of John, Jesus is referred to as the Word, a divine entity who was with God and indeed was God. This sets the tone for the rest of the narrative, introducing Jesus as a figure of immense spiritual significance. In the Gospel of John, Jesus uses the phrase, "I am," echoing God's self-identification to Moses in Exodus. This is no mere coincidence, but a profound declaration of his divine identity. We then have the confession of Thomas, who, upon seeing the risen Christ, proclaims, "My Lord and my God." This statement, coming from a follower who had initially doubted, underscores the transformative power of Jesus' divinity. Lastly, we see Jesus identified as the Creator, the one through whom all things were made. This is not a role typically attributed to mere prophets or teachers, but to God alone. From the Word to "I am," from Thomas's declaration to the role of Creator, the Bible presents Jesus as God, a divine figure worthy of our faith.